My dad refused to walk me down the aisle because of my sister's lies. What unfolded at the reception left him stunned with regret. My wedding day almost fell apart, torn by betrayal, not from a stranger, but from my own father and sister. He chose her silly party over being by my side. The moment he realized his mistake still chills me. Before starting my journey, please subscribe to the channel, and where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I'm Lavinia, 28 when this happened. I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, in what seemed like a perfect family. A cozy house, mom's tulips blooming, and dad teaching me to ride my bike. My father, Adam, was my hero. Tall with salt and pepper hair, he had a strong presence but a warm smile. Every morning at breakfast, his eyes twinkled as he said, "Lavinia, your mind is so bright. You'll change the world someday." Those words pushed me forward. Straight A's meant ice cream rewards. My mom, Amber, was our family's rock. Her kind brown eyes and caring heart balanced Dad's occasional sternness. A part-time nurse, she always put us first, helping with homework or teaching me her famous chocolate chip cookie recipe. But when I was 13, our world broke. Mom grew tired, and 3 months later we got the awful news: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. For 7 months, hospital visits and quiet talks consumed us as I watched my vibrant mom slip away. Her death left a gaping hole we never truly faced. My older sister Katarina was always tricky. Even before Mom's death, she resented my bond with Dad. She was tall and sporty, I was small and bookish. Mom tried to celebrate our different talents, but Katarina saw my praise as a personal slight. After Mom passed, our tension exploded. Dad buried himself in work, staying at the office until 9 or 10. I wanted to escape our empty house. His absence created a gap, and 15-year-old Katarina stepped in, acting like she ran the place. "Dad's got enough on his plate," she'd snap if I asked when he'd be home. "He's got big clients. We need to be strong for him." She changed into someone I barely knew, cooking, nothing like Mom's, and taking charge. Dad seemed grateful, and their connection grew while mine with him unraveled. His promotion to senior partner made it worse: more money, less time. Katarina played this perfectly, using guilt and sneaky tactics to become his favorite. "Lavinia spent $75 on art supplies," she'd tell him, leaving out it was for a school project. Or, "Lavinia says she doesn't need you at her band concert since you're so busy," when I'd been counting the days for him to show up. By high school, she'd painted a false picture of me to Dad: rebellious, ungrateful, only caring about friends. Truth was, I dove into art to deal with losing Mom and, bit by bit, Dad too. The worst betrayal hit in my junior year. I was up for a major art scholarship and reminded Dad for weeks. The night before, I overheard Katarina on the phone with him. "Lavinia doesn't want a fuss tomorrow. She said you being there might make her nervous. Just send a card." The next day, I sat alone at the ceremony, watching other kids with proud parents as I got my medal. Dad texted, "Congrats. Got a client dinner." Later, his secretary told me Katarina claimed I'd rescheduled, forcing him to book something else. When I confronted her, she shrugged. "You always crave the spotlight. It's sad." At 18, I couldn't wait to escape. I applied to colleges across the state, desperate to leave that toxic home. The University of Pittsburgh gave me a scholarship, and I threw myself into college life, only coming home for major holidays, enduring Katarina's sly jabs and Dad's distant courtesy. I met Marco in my sophomore year. Tall, kind, with a quick smile, his logical engineering mind complemented my creative chaos. A coffee meetup for notes turned into a 3-hour talk, and soon we were inseparable. Marco's lively, warm family welcomed me instantly. His mom, Isabella, a kindergarten teacher, made everyone feel special. His dad, William, a civil engineer, had a dry wit. His younger brother, Lucas, treated me like I'd always been there. Marco was my rock through college and our early careers. He got my family struggles without judging, comforted me when holidays hurt, and cheered my wins when Dad didn't notice. We moved to Philadelphia, built our careers, and created a life free from my family's drama. My monthly calls with Dad were short and formal. Katarina, now in real estate, stayed in our hometown, always playing the loyal daughter, reminding me she was taking care of Dad. By 26, I was a marketing executive. Marco was thriving, and our life together was better than I dreamed. The old pain lingered, but I was building a new family where I felt valued. On our 5th anniversary, Marco proposed. He recreated our first date, ending with dinner at our favorite Italian spot. A small velvet box came with dessert. Lavinia, he said, holding my hands, these past 5 years have been the best because of you. Your creativity, kindness, and strength blow me away. I want to be with you forever. Will you marry me? The ring, a vintage sapphire with tiny diamonds, matched my artistic soul. In that joyful moment, I pushed aside worries about telling my family. For one night, I just wanted to feel happy. The next morning, I called Dad. Marco proposed last night, and I said yes. There was a long pause. Well, congrats, he mumbled, like it was a small work win. He seems nice. Got a date yet? No excitement, no questions about the proposal, just cold logistics. Not yet, I said, hiding my hurt. Maybe next summer. Let me know when you pick a date, he said. I'll check my calendar. I hung up, fighting tears. Marco found me and knew right away. He'll come around, he said, but I could see he didn't believe it. Katarina's reply was worse. I texted her the news with a ring photo and her over-the-top, OMG, congrats little sis. That ring's so pretty, dripped with fake joy. Her jealousy was clear. She was 32, single and stuck in short-term relationships. Despite their lukewarm reactions, we moved forward. We chose June 15th, 9 months out. It worked for Marco's family, my friends, and Dad, who said he'd be free. We sent save the dates. Dad seemed mildly excited. It's on my calendar, he said. Katarina mentioned it too. Actually, Dad, I said carefully, I'd love for you to walk me down the aisle. A pause, then real emotion. I'd be honored, Lavinia. That small spark of connection gave me hope. The next months were a whirlwind of planning, venues, caterers, dress fittings. Isabella joined me for many appointments, always supportive, never pushy. You'll be the most stunning bride, she said at my first dress fitting, tears in her eyes as I stepped out in a lace gown. I felt Mom's absence deeply. Isabella squeezed my hand. Your mom would be so proud of who you are. I grew close to Marco's uncle, Anton, a 60-something retired English professor with silver hair and warm eyes. He never had kids but adored Marco and Lucas. At family events, he'd chat with me about books, art, and my job, truly listening. You have a gift for touching people's hearts, he said after seeing my latest campaign. His genuine care stood out against my family's distance. Dad confirmed he'd come but never asked about plans. Katarina skipped being a bridesmaid, blaming work, but said she'd attend. Then, 5 months before the wedding, I noticed worrying signs. Katarina posted vague social media updates about a big event she was planning. I called, but she brushed me off. Just a work thing, don't worry. As our date neared, her posts grew, venue scouting, catering pics, hinting at June. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. 3 months and 1 day before my wedding, Katarina called, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Lavinia, I wanted to tell you myself before you see it online. I'm throwing a big career party on June 15th. I hit my sales goal to become a broker and my firm's hosting a huge bash. My heart sank. Katarina, that's my wedding day. You got the save the date 8 months ago. Did I? She said, faking surprise. Must have slipped my mind while planning with work. It's just a coincidence. My party's at 11 a.m. at the country club, wrapping up by your 4 p.m. ceremony. It'll work out fine. Fine? I snapped, my voice sharp. You're throwing a party on my wedding day, knowing Dad will have to pick one. Dad can do both, she said coolly. He's so proud of me. He'll make it to your wedding too. It's not far. The country club was over 2 hours from our venue, making it impossible for Dad to attend both, especially since he needed to be there early. I hung up and called Dad, hoping he'd see through her. Did you know Katarina planned her work party on my wedding day? She mentioned it, he said casually. Bad timing, but work events are tough to shift. It's a big deal for her. But Dad, how can you do both? You're supposed to walk me down the aisle. I'll figure it out, Lavinia. I'll hit the start of her party and drive to your ceremony. Don't make it a big deal. Weeks passed and I sensed him faltering. He mumbled about traffic, asked if we could push the ceremony later, and even questioned if I needed him for photos. Despite the stress, we kept planning, dress fittings, photographer bookings, flowers, welcome bags. Marco's family stayed supportive, but I could tell they worried about Dad's commitment. 2 weeks before the wedding, my worst fears came true. It was Tuesday night, and I was reviewing seating charts when Dad called. "Lavinia," he said, his voice tense, "we need to talk about the wedding. I've been thinking about June 15th. I can't make the ceremony on time. Katarina's event is crucial for her career, and I need to be there for it. The timing doesn't work." I gripped the phone, struggling to stay calm. "You're choosing not to walk me down the aisle?" "It's not choosing," he shot back. "It's logistics. Her event's earlier, and I can't be in two places. Maybe Marco's dad or a friend's dad could walk you down. Someone else can handle it." "Someone else?" As if walking your daughter down the aisle was a task for just anyone. "I see," I whispered, barely audible. "I'll make the reception," he offered, like it was a grand gesture. "Probably by 7, depending on traffic." I mumbled goodbye, dropped the phone and collapsed in tears. Marco found me 20 minutes later. "He's not coming," I sobbed into his shoulder. "He's picking Katarina's party over me." Marco held me tight, his anger clear in his tense frame. "I'm so sorry, Lavinia, you deserve better." Marco gently suggested postponing. We could reschedule. Give him no excuse. The idea tempted me, but I refused. "No," I said firmly. "I won't rearrange our wedding for Katarina's games. That's what she wants." The next day, Isabella called to check in and sensed something was wrong. I poured out the story. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice warm with care. "I can't believe your father would do this." "I don't know what to do," I admitted. "Part of me wants to beg him, but that's what Katarina's counting on. She wants me to look desperate." "Listen," Isabella said firmly, "this is your and Marco's day. Don't let anyone steal it. Your dad's making a choice he'll regret forever, but that's his burden, not yours." Her words gave me strength, but I still wondered who would walk me down the aisle. Going alone felt like broadcasting Dad's rejection. Later that week, Uncle Anton called. "Marco told me what's going on," he said softly. "I hope it's okay," he shared. "Of course," I said, touched by his concern. "Family letdowns hurt the most," Anton said, his voice hinting at personal pain. "I know more than you might think. My dad chose business over my love for literature. Some scars don't fade, but we build good lives anyway." His understanding brought fresh tears. "Thank you, Anton," I said quietly. "Anytime, Lavinia. Family isn't just blood, it's who shows up when it counts." A week before the wedding, I hit my lowest point. Despite excited emails from friends and vendor confirmations, I sat on the bathroom floor at midnight, drowning in despair. Dad's absence left a hole in our otherwise perfect plans. The next morning, Marco urged me to meet Isabella for lunch. She was waiting at a quiet cafe. "Marco's worried about you," she said, squeezing my hand. "We all are." "I'm trying to stay strong," I said, stirring my tea. "I tell myself it's fine without Dad, but picturing myself walking down the aisle alone makes me feel abandoned." "It's okay to feel that," Isabella said. "What your dad's doing is wrong and you're allowed to hurt." She paused, then added, "I want to tell you something about Anton to explain why he reached out." "What about him?" I asked, looking up. "Anton's my late husband's brother," she said. "When I met William, Anton was already cut off from their parents. His dad never forgave him for picking academia over the family business." I nodded, remembering Anton's words. "There's more," Isabella continued. "I was married briefly before William, very young. When I planned to marry William, my dad refused to come, saying a second wedding shamed him." "That's awful," I said softly. "Anton stepped up to walk me down the aisle," she said with a small smile. "He knew what it felt like to be rejected. He told me, 'Isabella, you deserve someone who celebrates your joy, not judges it.'" "I had no idea," I said. "Anton's never had kids," Isabella said, "but he's been an amazing uncle to Marco and Lucas at every play, graduation and big moment." She didn't say it directly, but an idea formed in my mind. "Do you think," I said hesitantly, "it'd be wrong to ask Anton to walk me down the aisle?" Isabella's eyes welled up. "Sweetheart, I think it'd mean everything to him. But it's your choice." I spent the next day thinking it over. Anton had always shown genuine care and kindness. There was something special about having someone who understood rejection walk me down the aisle. That evening, I called him. We met at a bookstore cafe. He was there with a stack of books and 2 coffees. "I got your usual," he said with a warm smile. "Vanilla latte, extra shot, right?" His thoughtfulness touched me. After some small talk, I found my courage. "Anton, I have something to ask." He set down his coffee, giving me his full attention. "Anything, Lavinia." "You probably heard from Marco that my dad won't walk me down the aisle," I said, the words still painful. Anton nodded gravely. "He mentioned the conflict. I'm so sorry." I took a deep breath. "Isabella told me how you walked her down the aisle for her wedding to William, and how much it meant. I'd be honored if you'd do the same for me." Anton's face shifted from surprise to deep emotion, his eyes misty. "Lavinia," he said, voice thick, "I can't tell you what this means. Are you sure? This moment should be with someone close." "I'm sure," I said, feeling more certain. "You've shown me more care and support in the years I've known you than my dad has in a decade. I'd be proud to have you there." Anton reached across the table, taking my hand. "Then I accept with all my heart. It's one of the greatest honors of my life." The weight I'd carried for weeks lifted. Anton was right. Family is about who shows up, not just DNA. The final days before the wedding blurred by, but I felt a new calm. 3 days before, I called Dad one last time. "I just want to confirm if you're still coming to the reception." "Yeah, I should make it after Katarina's event," he said, sounding distracted. "Maybe 7:30 or 8. I swallowed hard. "I also wanted you to know I've asked Marco's uncle, Anton, to walk me down the aisle." A long pause followed. "Who?" Dad asked. "Anton Harris, Marco's uncle," I said. "He's been there for me." "I see," Dad muttered, his tone flat. "Guess someone had to step in if I couldn't make it." His cold dismissal confirmed I'd made the right choice. The night before the wedding, Anton gave a toast at our rehearsal dinner that left everyone teary. "To Lavinia and Marco," he said, raising his glass. "True love isn't just finding the right person, it's building a family that lifts you up. I'm honored to be part of your day." After the guests left, I checked social media one last time. Katarina's posts about her career party showed a few decorations in her apartment, with maybe a dozen people tagged. It wasn't the big corporate event she claimed. She'd planned a small party to clash with my wedding. The truth didn't sting as much as I expected, it brought clarity. Her jealousy drove her to sabotage my big day. I closed the app, vowing to focus on love, not drama, tomorrow. I woke on my wedding day to bright sunshine. My bridesmaids buzzed with excitement. While Alina got her hair done, my phone pinged with Dad's text, "Good luck today. Katarina's event starts at 11. Might make the reception by 7 or 8. Save some cake." No apology, no congrats, just a reminder her party came first. I handed the phone to Cassandra, too hurt to respond. "He's unreal," she said, hugging me. "Don't let this ruin your day." At noon, Anton arrived, sharp in a tuxedo, holding a small gift. "Hope I'm not intruding," he said. "I brought something for you." I welcomed him in. "You look radiant," he said, his eyes warm. "Marco's a lucky guy." "Thanks for being here," I said, "for everything." He gave me a box. "This was my mother's," he said. "I saved it for a special moment." Inside was a vintage handkerchief, edged with lace and blue flowers. "Something old, something blue," Anton said. "She carried it at her 1930 wedding. I thought you might want it today." Tears filled my eyes. "It's beautiful, Anton. I'm honored." "There's more," he said, pulling out a velvet pouch. "Isabella wanted you to have this." It held a silver bracelet with a paintbrush and pen charm. "She remembered you love writing and painting," he said. "A nod to your creative heart." Their kindness overwhelmed me. These people, not my blood, cared more about my happiness than my own family. "Tell Isabella thank you," I said, fastening the bracelet. "This means everything." Anton smiled. "I'll let you get ready. See you before the ceremony." That afternoon I soaked in the joy. My bridesmaids helped with my dress. With Mom's pearl earrings, Isabella's bracelet, and Anton's handkerchief in my bouquet, I felt ready. By 3:30 the photographer was done. Isabella arrived, teary-eyed. Lavinia, you're stunning, she said, hugging me gently. Anton's waiting in the lobby when you're ready. 10 minutes to 4 o'clock, I walked to the garden terrace. Through the glass doors, I saw 90 guests, the floral arch with Marco waiting, and the string quartet. Anton stood in the anteroom, calm, but a bit nervous. His face lit up with pride when he saw me. Ready? He asked softly. I nodded, too choked up to speak. He offered his arm. As Canon in D played, the doors opened. Walking with Anton, I felt a mix of sadness for Dad's absence and gratitude for Anton's grace. Marco's face, full of love and awe, made every second of planning worth it. Despite the family pain, I knew we were building a new family rooted in respect and care. The ceremony was perfect. We shared personal vows promising to support each other's dreams, be honest, and choose each other daily. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the applause felt like a warm embrace. Cocktail hour and dinner overflowed with laughter, toasts, and dancing. Marco's dad gave a heartfelt speech. Anton's toast brought joyful tears. By 8:30 it was clear Dad wouldn't make the reception. I pushed the hurt aside for our first dance with Marco. Later I noticed my cousin Timothy slip in, looking frazzled. Mom's nephew, he'd always been kind, staying in touch with both Katarina and me. I mentioned his late arrival. I'm so sorry, he said, genuinely upset. I stopped at Katarina's event, thinking I could do both. But Lavinia, you need to know something. He pulled me aside, his face serious. Her party wasn't what she said. It wasn't a work event. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? Just a small gathering at her place, maybe 15 people, mostly gym friends, a few coworkers. No company award, no big celebration. I asked her colleague Miriam about the broker promotion, and she was clueless. I was stunned. So she lied to clash with my wedding? Timothy nodded. There's more. I heard her tell your dad you didn't want him at the wedding, that you only asked him to walk you down out of duty. That's a lie, I said, shocked. I know, he said, showing me texts from months ago where Katarina admitted planning her party to force Dad to choose. Her betrayal was clear now. I thought I was paranoid, but she'd been undermining my bond with Dad for years. Does Dad know? I asked. Timothy shook his head. I tried telling him today, but Katarina kept cutting in and pulled him away. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I hugged him. Thanks for telling me, Timothy. Now I know the truth. Part of me wanted to call Dad and expose her, but it was my wedding day. I deserved joy, not drama. I joined Marco on the dance floor, focusing on our future, not the past. Around 10:30, with about 40 guests left, I saw a stir at the door. My heart raced. Dad walked in, awkward in a thrown-together suit. Marco grabbed my hand. Want me to handle it? No, I said. I've got this. Dad shuffled toward me, clutching a small gift bag. Congrats, he said stiffly, offering an awkward hug. Sorry I'm late. Katarina's thing ran long. His casual tone about missing my entire ceremony made my blood boil, but I stayed calm. Glad you made it for the last hour, I said, sarcasm slipping through. He didn't notice. He glanced around. Looks like it was a nice wedding, he said, like he'd missed a random event. It was perfect, I said firmly. Absolutely beautiful. Silence hung between us. He handed me the bag. From me and Katarina, crystal wine glasses. Thanks, I said, setting it aside. Want a drink? He nodded and we headed to the bar. As the bartender poured his scotch, he finally asked, Who walked you down the aisle? Anton Harris, I said. Marco's uncle. Dad frowned. That older guy in the navy tux? The one who gave the toast? I nodded, spotting Anton chatting with Isabella and William. That's him. You had a stranger walk you down the aisle? His tone dripped with disbelief, like I'd made a foolish choice. He's no stranger, I said sharply. He's been part of Marco's family for years and shown more care for me than you have in ages. Dad's face flushed with anger. That's unfair, Lavinia. I've always supported you. Have you? I shot back, years of hurt spilling out. You missed my art scholarship ceremony because Katarina said I didn't want you there. You forgot my college graduation dinner until Marco's parents reminded you. And now you skipped my wedding for her fake party. Fake party? He asked, confused. What do you mean? Timothy walked up. Uncle Adam, glad you made it, even if it's just the end. Dad gave a curt nod. What's this about Katarina's party being fake? Timothy glanced at me, caught in the tension. I told Lavinia earlier. It wasn't a work event, just a small get-together at her place. That's not right, Dad said, shaking his head. She said it was for her broker promotion. Her firm planned it. I asked her coworker Miriam, Timothy said softly. No promotion, no company event. Just a party she set for the same day as Lavinia's wedding. Dad's face shifted from doubt to shock. Before he could speak, Anton approached. Lavinia, Marco's looking for you. It's almost time for the sparkler send-off. Dad glared at Anton. So you're the uncle who took my place? Anton extended a hand, calm and kind. Anton Harris. Nice to meet you, Adam. Dad ignored the gesture. I don't get why my daughter needed a stranger to replace me. Dad, stop, I said, embarrassed. Anton stayed steady. I understand your confusion. It was an honor to support Lavinia today, knowing how much the ceremony meant to her. Dad scoffed. If it meant so much, she could have picked a day that didn't clash with her sister's event. My wedding was set 9 months ago, I said. Katarina planned her party on purpose. Timothy has proof. Timothy showed Dad the texts. Dad's face paled as he read them. This can't be true, he muttered. Katarina wouldn't do that. She's been doing it for years, I said, my voice cracking. Since Mom died, she's driven a wedge between us. She lied about me not wanting you at my art ceremony, my graduation, and now my wedding. Dad looked stunned. She told me you said it'd be embarrassing to have me walk you down the aisle, that you only asked out of duty. That's not true, I said fiercely. I wanted you there. I've always wanted you in my life. The truth hit Dad hard. His shock turned to anger. I need to talk to Katarina, he said, pulling out his phone. Not now, I begged. This is my wedding reception. But he was already dialing, stepping away. Anton touched my shoulder gently. I'm sorry, Lavinia. Should I get Marco? I nodded. Anton returned with Marco, who instantly read the situation and wrapped an arm around me. What happened? Before I could answer, Dad stormed back, face red. Katarina hung up. I'm going to her place to get answers. Dad, please, I said. Can't this wait? Today's supposed to be a celebration. I need to know if you're right, he insisted. If she's been lying to me all this time. She has, Timothy said quietly. I'm sorry, Uncle Adam, it's true. Dad looked at me, then at Anton standing with Marco and me. Seeing us together sparked new anger. So you replaced me with him? He shouted, pointing at Anton. Some random old man you hardly know? Anton stepped forward, voice calm but firm. Mr. Evans, I get that you're upset, but this isn't the time or place. Today's about Lavinia and Marco's marriage, not old grudges. Don't tell me what today's about, Dad snapped. She's my daughter. Then maybe you should have acted like her father, Anton said evenly. Being a father means showing up when it matters, not just when it's easy. Anton's words hit Dad like a punch. He stared at him, then at me, his anger fading to shame. I need to go, he said abruptly. I have to talk to Katarina. He left without another word, leaving a heavy silence. Marco pulled me close. You okay? I nodded, though tears stung my eyes. I just wish he'd seen the truth sooner. Anton's steady presence calmed me. Family truths are tough, Lavinia, he said softly, but they're often the start of healing. Isabella and William joined us. Don't let this dim your beautiful day, Isabella whispered, hugging me. You and Marco deserve every bit of joy. We rejoined the guests for the sparkler send-off. The night air was cool and crisp, carrying the faint scent of summer flowers from the garden. Everyone lined up on either side of the path leading to our waiting car, their faces illuminated by the glowing sparks. As Marco and I held hands, ready to dash through, I glanced around at the smiling faces. friends, Marco's family, a few of my own relatives who had shown up despite the drama. The sparklers fizzed and crackled, creating a magical tunnel of light that seemed to push away the shadows of the evening's confrontation. Despite Dad's explosive scene as we ran through that shimmering corridor, laughter bubbling up from the crowd, I felt an odd sense of peace wash over me. The cheers and whoops echoed in my ears, and Marco's grip on my hand was firm and reassuring. The truth was finally out in the open, hanging in the air like the smoke from the extinguished sparklers. Whatever happened next, with Dad, with Katarina, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. I had a new family, one that truly valued me, not out of obligation, but because they chose to. The car door closed behind us, and as the driver pulled away, I leaned my head on Marco's shoulder. The venue's lights faded in the rearview mirror, and I let out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "That was intense," Marco said softly, kissing the top of my head. "But you handled it like a champ." I smiled weakly, the adrenaline still buzzing in my veins. The day had been a whirlwind of emotions, joy, heartbreak, revelation, but in that moment, speeding toward our hotel, I felt a quiet resolve settling in. Marco and I spent 2 blissful weeks honeymooning in Greece. We flew out the very next morning, leaving behind the chaos of the wedding and diving into the azure waters of the Aegean Sea. Our days were filled with lazy mornings on the beach in Santorini, where the whitewashed buildings clung to cliffs like something out of a dream. We'd sip strong Greek coffee at a little cafe overlooking the caldera, watching the sun rise in a blaze of orange and pink. The distance from home was exactly what I needed to process everything that had unfolded. I muted Dad and Katarina's notifications on my phone before we even boarded the plane. No emails, no texts, no voicemails interrupting our paradise. I was determined to savor every moment with Marco, exploring ancient ruins in Athens, where we'd wander hand in hand through the Parthenon, marveling at the history etched into every stone. Or evenings in Mykonos, dancing under the stars at beachside tavernas, the music lively and the ouzo flowing. Those weeks were a balm for my soul, allowing me to reflect without the pressure of immediate decisions. We hiked volcanic trails, swam in crystal-clear coves, and indulged in fresh seafood dinners at sunset. Marco was my anchor, always knowing when to crack a joke to lighten my mood or when to just sit quietly with me as I stared out at the sea, lost in thought. "Whatever you decide about your dad," he'd say gently one night as we watched the waves crash, "I'll support you. We're in this together." His words reminded me how lucky I was, how our love had carried me through the storm. But when we got back home, reality was waiting like an unopened package on our doorstep, in my voicemails and emails. Jet-lagged and sun-kissed, I collapsed onto the couch and finally powered on my phone. Notifications flooded in, but I zeroed in on Dad's. He had left 5 messages, each one building in remorse, his voice cracking more with every call. The first was short, almost hesitant. "Lavinia, it's Dad. Hope you're enjoying your honeymoon. Call me when you can." The second delved deeper. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened at the reception. I messed up, big time. Please, let's talk." But the third, left 3 days before we returned, hit me like a gut punch. His voice was raw, thick with emotion. "Lavinia, I don't know if you're hearing this, but you were right about Katarina. I confronted her with those texts Timothy showed me. At first, she denied everything, twisting words like she always does, but when I pressed her, really pressed, she broke down and admitted the truth. She's been manipulating both of us for years, feeding me lies to keep you at arm's length. I feel like such a fool. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I hope someday you'll give me a chance to make this right. I am so sorry. I love you." I played it again, tears welling up as I heard the pain in his words. It was the apology I'd waited years for, but it came wrapped in so much regret. The fourth message was him checking in, sounding defeated. "Just wanted to see if you've listened to my last message. Take your time." And the fifth, "I'm here whenever you're ready. Miss you, kiddo." Katarina, on the other hand, left no voicemails at all. Just one frigid email, as cold and distant as she'd always been. "Lavinia," it read, "I've decided to take a break from family matters for a while. I'll be traveling indefinitely. Best wishes on your marriage." No apology, no acknowledgement of her schemes, just a clean cut, like she was erasing us from her life. I stared at the screen, a mix of anger and relief bubbling up. Part of me wanted to reply with all the hurt she'd caused, but I deleted the draft. She didn't deserve my energy anymore. I sat there on our couch, phone in hand, the weight of it all pressing down. Marco sat beside me, his hand warm on mine. He didn't push, he just waited. "What's on your mind?" he finally asked, his voice soft and steady. "I don't know," I admitted, leaning into him. "On one hand, I feel vindicated. Dad finally sees the truth about Katarina's games. It's like a fog has lifted. But on the other, I'm just so sad for all the years we lost because of her lies. Birthdays, holidays, milestones, all tainted." He nodded, squeezing my hand. "It's a lot to unpack. Want to call him back?" I considered it, staring at the phone as if it might bite. The idea of hearing his voice again stirred a whirlwind inside, hope mixed with caution. "Not yet," I decided. "I need some time to figure out what I want this relationship to look like going forward, if I even want one at all. I can't just jump back in like nothing happened." Marco kissed my forehead. "Take all the time you need, I'm right here." The next few weeks were a blur of settling back into normal life. We unpacked suitcases filled with souvenirs, olive oil from Crete, a hand-painted plate from Delphi, and dove into the pile of thank you notes for wedding gifts. Each one I wrote brought back flashes of the day, the lace of my dress, the taste of the cake, Anton's steady arm as we walked the aisle. Work pulled me in too. As a marketing executive, I had campaigns to launch, meetings to attend. The routine was comforting, a way to ground myself amid the emotional turbulence. Married life with Marco was a joy in itself. We'd cook dinner together in our small Philadelphia kitchen, experimenting with Greek recipes we'd picked up on the trip, tzatziki that never quite matched the real thing, but tasted like adventure. Evenings were spent curled up watching movies or planning our next getaway. It was simple, but it was ours, free from the shadows of my past family drama. I stayed close with Marco's family during this time, their warmth a constant anchor. Isabella would text me recipes or check in with a quick call. "How's married life treating you, dear?" William sent funny memes that made me laugh on tough days. But especially Anton, he called every Sunday evening like clockwork. His voice on the line was like a familiar hug. "How are you holding up, Lavinia?" he'd ask, his genuine concern wrapping around me like a blanket. We'd talk about everything. Books first, he'd recommend classics like To Kill a Mockingbird or modern gems like The Night Circus, and we'd debate characters and plots. Then work, I'd share my latest marketing wins, like a campaign that went viral, and he'd offer insights from his days as an English professor, emphasizing storytelling's power. But inevitably we'd dip into heavier stuff, family dynamics, the sting of betrayal, the path to forgiveness. One call stands out. I was in our living room, rain pattering against the windows, a cup of tea steaming in my hand. Anton listened as I vented about Dad's messages, the confusion swirling inside me. He never interrupted, just let me pour it out. When I finished, he paused thoughtfully. "Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened," he said during that phone chat, his words measured and wise. "It's not saying it's okay when it wasn't. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment, that heavy weight you've carried for so long. Whatever you decide with your father with moving forward, make sure it brings you peace. That's the true goal." His advice lingered with me, a gentle nudge without pressure. Anton drew from his own life, sharing snippets of his estrangement from his parents, how he'd built a fulfilling world despite the pain. "I chose my path in academia," he'd say, "and they couldn't accept it. But I found family and friends in my nephews and now in you." Those conversations were therapy in disguise, helping me sort through my tangled emotions. As days turned to weeks, I felt the pull to reach out to Dad, strengthening. Anton's words echoed, "Choose peace." I wasn't ready to forgive everything overnight, but holding on to the anger was exhausting. A month after we got back from Greece, I finally picked up the phone and called him. My heart pounded as it rang, once, twice. He answered on the third, his voice tentative. "Is that you?" "Yes, Dad. Can we meet? Neutral ground, maybe a cafe?" "Of course," he said, relief flooding his words. "Whenever you're ready." We met at a quiet cafe downtown, the kind with worn wooden tables and the aroma of fresh-baked pastries. I arrived early, nerves jittery, stirring a latte I barely touched. When Dad walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, more worn, lines etched deeper around his eyes, his salt and pepper hair grayer than I remembered. He spotted me and stood awkwardly by the table. "Lavinia, thanks for coming," he said, his voice rough with emotion. We hugged briefly, the gesture stiff but sincere, then sat down and ordered coffee. As our drinks arrived, his black, mine with extra foam, he fidgeted with his cup. "I don't know where to start," he admitted, eyes downcast. "I failed you so completely, in ways I'm just beginning to understand." "You did," I said without sugarcoating it, my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "But I want to understand how it happened. How did you not see what Katarina was doing all these years? The lies, the manipulation, it was right in front of you." He breathed deeply, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of it all pressed down. "After your mother died, I was lost, Lavinia. Completely adrift. The house felt empty, the days blurred together. Katarina stepped up then, she cooked, she organized, she made sure things ran. I was so grateful for that stability that I didn't question it. It was easier to believe her version of events, her little stories about you being distant or rebellious, than to face my own grief and my inadequacy as a single parent." He paused, sipping his coffee, his hands trembling slightly. "She became my connection to you, filtering everything. I'd ask about you, and she'd spin it in a way that made sense with my absence. Lavinia's busy with friends, or she doesn't need you there. By the time you left for college, I fully believed her narrative that you were pulling away on purpose. It absolved me of guilt, you see. If you didn't want me around, then my long hours at work weren't hurting anyone." I listened, the pieces clicking into place. It hurt to hear, but it made a twisted kind of sense. "I never wanted to pull away from you," I told him, my voice softening. "I loved our breakfast talks, the bike rides, the ice cream rewards. But after Mom, with Katarina constantly twisting things, it felt like I was fighting a losing battle. It was easier to distance myself, to build my own life away from the toxicity." "I understand that now," he said, his eyes meeting mine for the first time, filled with regret. "When I confronted her after the wedding, showing her those texts from Timothy, she crumbled. She admitted it all, the jealousy that started when you were little, how she felt I always favored you because of your smarts, your bond with me. After your mom passed, she saw an opportunity to have me all to herself, to be the good daughter while painting you as the problem." "Have you talked to her since?" I asked, curious about her fate. He shook his head, a shadow crossing his face. "No. She left for Florida the very next day after our blowout. She's staying with an old friend in Miami, someplace by the beach. I've tried calling, but she hangs up or doesn't answer. She refuses to discuss what happened, just says she needs space. I don't know when or if she'll come back. Part of me wonders if it's for the best." We talked for nearly 3 hours that afternoon, the cafe emptying around us as we unpacked layer after layer of painful memories and misunderstandings. I shared my side, the isolation after Mom's death, the sting of missed events, the relief of finding solace in Marco's family. He listened, really listened, tears streaming down his face at times. Frustrations were aired. "Why didn't you ever check with me directly?" I'd ask. I was scared of the answer, he'd admit. Recriminations flew, but so did moments of understanding, like when he described his overwhelming grief, how it blinded him. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light through the windows, we wrapped up. "I want to try to rebuild our relationship," Dad said as we prepared to leave, standing by the door. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you're willing, I'd like to get to know the amazing woman you've become, the marketing whiz, the artist, the wife." His words touched something deep inside, but I wasn't ready to dive in fully. "I need to think about it," I admitted honestly. "This isn't something we can fix in one conversation. There are years of hurt here." He nodded, no argument, just acceptance of my boundary. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready." We hugged goodbye, longer this time, and as I walked to my car, I felt a flicker of hope amid the caution. Over the next few months, we began a painstaking reconciliation. It started small, weekly phone calls where we'd chat about safe topics, the weather, my work projects, his latest book. Gradually, they deepened. "Tell me about that art scholarship you won in high school," he'd ask, and I'd share the details, feeling the old connection spark. Those calls turned into routine visits, coffee runs, walks in the park near his house in Allentown. One visit stands out. I drove up on a crisp fall day, leaves crunching underfoot. Dad had made lunch, Mom's chocolate chip cookie recipe, imperfect but earnest. We ate on the porch, talking about everything and nothing. It was during these moments that I saw glimpses of the hero dad from my childhood, the one with the crinkling eyes and encouraging words. I properly introduced him to Marco's family during this time, starting with a casual meetup at a local diner. Isabella and William were welcoming, their kindness bridging the gap. But especially Anton, I arranged a separate coffee for just the three of us, Dad, Anton, and me. Despite their difficult first meeting at the reception, Anton was gracious, extending a hand with a warm smile. "Good to see you again, Adam," he said. Dad shook it, mumbling an apology for his outburst. "I was out of line," he admitted. Anton waved it off, "Water under the bridge. We're all here for Lavinia now." 3 months after our initial cafe talk, Dad suggested a family dinner at his house, inviting Marco's parents and Anton. It was a tentative step toward blending our worlds, a way to weave the chosen family with the biological one. I was nervous, would old tensions resurface? But I agreed, seeing it as a test. The evening arrived, the table set with Dad's attempt at Italian lasagna that was a bit overcooked but made with effort. Marco's parents brought wine, Anton a bouquet of flowers. Conversation started stiffly, weather, sports. But as the meal progressed, walls came down. Isabella shared stories of Marco as a kid, making everyone laugh. William cracked his dry jokes. Dad opened up about his work, his pride in my career. After supper, as we cleared plates, I slipped away to the kitchen but paused when I heard voices from the living room. Peeking in, I saw Dad and Anton deep in conversation, glasses of wine in hand. "I want to thank you for being there for Lavinia, even when I wasn't," Dad said, his voice sincere. "Walking her down the aisle should have been my privilege, but you did it with such honor." Anton nodded attentively, his silver hair catching the lamplight. "She's a remarkable young woman, Adam. You should be very proud of who she has become, largely through her own strength and determination, yes, but with roots in the love you gave her early on." "I am proud," Dad confirmed, his eyes misty. "I just wish I had been more present to see it happening, to nurture it instead of letting it slip away." Their discourse touched me deeply, a quiet mending of threads. It gave me hope that the scars of the past, deep as they were, might heal with time, patience, and effort. Not perfectly perhaps, but enough to move forward. Katarina, meanwhile, remained distant. She'd send bland texts on holidays, happy birthday, or generic cards with no personal note. No calls, no visits. I tried reaching out once, a neutral email suggesting we talk, but she replied curtly, "Not ready." I came to realize that certain relationships might never be mended, tangled too tightly in jealousy and hurt. And that was fine, I didn't need her toxicity anymore. My life was fuller without it. 6 months after the wedding, we celebrated our first Thanksgiving as a married couple in our Philadelphia home. The aroma of turkey and stuffing filled the air as I set the table, mixing Mom's old china with new pieces from our registry. Marco's family arrived early, Isabella with her famous apple pie, William with a bottle of scotch, Lucas bounding in with energy. Dad showed up next, a bouquet in hand and a tentative smile. Cousin Timothy came too, bearing wine and his easy kindness. A few close friends rounded out the group. Katarina was invited, of course, but she declined with a quick text, busy traveling. As we sat around the overflowing table, candlelight flickering, we went around sharing what we were thankful for. Marco spoke of our love, Isabella of family bonds. When it was Dad's turn, his voice broke with emotion. "I am thankful for second chances," he said simply, looking at me across the table. "And for a daughter whose capacity for forgiveness humbles me every day. You've shown me grace I didn't earn, and I'm committed to being better." Tears pricked my eyes, but they were healing ones. Anton's turn came next, his grin bright and warm as he raised his glass. "I am thankful for the reminder that family is created through love and choice, not just biology," he said, his eyes meeting mine. "And I am especially thankful to have gained another niece in Lavinia, whose courage and grace inspire me to be better every day." The room filled with hears and clinking glasses. That night, as we laughed over pie and stories, I felt the pieces of my fractured world knitting together. It wasn't perfect, scars remained, but it was real, built on honesty and effort. On our 1-year anniversary, Marco and I hosted a modest dinner party at home. We kept it intimate, Marco's immediate family, Dad, Timothy, and a couple of close friends. The table was set with candles and fresh flowers, our favorite Italian dishes steaming, reminiscent of the proposal night. Laughter flowed as we shared memories of the wedding, the good outweighing the drama now. Anton surprised us with a toast that brought the room to silence, then tears. He stood, glass raised, his voice steady but emotional. 1 year ago, I had the privilege of walking this beautiful young woman down the aisle to marry the man she loves, he began, looking at me with such affection. What began as an honor, stepping in during a difficult moment, became one of the greatest gifts of my life, the opportunity to be part of Lavinia and Marco's journey. You've built something strong and true, a love that weathers storms. May your marriage continue to grow in strength and joy. And may you always remember that true family consists of those who choose to love you, even when it's difficult, even when it hurts. His words hung in the air, poignant and true. I wiped away tears as we toasted, feeling the depth of his sentiment. That night solidified it. Family wasn't just blood, it was the people who showed up, time and again. Looking back on the path that led us here, I realize that even life's most serious wounds can lead to unexpected healing. Dad's absence on my wedding day, painful as it was, opened the door for Anton's presence in my life, a steady, wise figure who not only filled a void but also served as a bridge for Dad's ultimate return. Without that heartbreak, I might never have seen the full extent of Katarina's manipulations or found the courage to confront them. My family now encompasses both those I was born into and those I chose, a beautiful mosaic of imperfect people, each valuable in their own way. I've realized, through therapy sessions I started post-honeymoon and quiet reflections, that forgiveness does not imply forgetting or excusing destructive behavior. It's not a blanket pardon that erases the past. Instead, it entails releasing yourself from the weight of anger, that constant draining resentment, and setting firm boundaries that safeguard your heart while allowing room for development and progress. For me, it meant telling Dad clearly, we move forward with honesty, no more filters. And he agreed, working to earn trust step by step. The parent who takes you down the aisle or stands by you in life's big moments should be someone who has stood by your side through the hardships, supporting and loving you wholeheartedly. Sometimes that individual shares your DNA, like Dad rediscovering his role, and sometimes they enter your life through other means, like Anton, whose kindness was a lifeline. What matters most, I've come to see, is not who stands by you on a single significant day, like a wedding or graduation, but who shows up on all the subsequent mundane days, the quiet evenings, the routine check-ins, the small acts of care. Those are the threads that weave a strong bond. I am grateful to have found my tribe, a collection of souls who choose me every day, just as I choose them. Marco, with his unwavering love, Isabella and William, with their maternal and paternal warmth, Anton, with his sage guidance, even Dad, in his imperfect redemption. Remember that sometimes the most beautiful families are those we build through love and choice rather than the ones we are born into. They may not be flawless, but they are ours, forged in resilience and grace. As years pass, I often think back to that wedding day, not with bitterness, but with a sense of triumph. The betrayal that nearly broke me instead reshaped my world into something stronger. Marco and I now talk about starting our own family, vowing to create a home free from manipulation, filled with open communication and unconditional support. Dad joins us for holidays, his relationship with me growing deeper, more authentic. Anton remains a beloved uncle figure, his Sunday calls a cherished tradition. Life isn't a fairy tale, wounds don't vanish overnight. But in embracing the mess and choosing forgiveness on my terms, I've found peace. And that's the greatest gift of all.